All right, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having me here today. I have a lot of great content for you, and I'm going to move through the content quickly because what's most important is we leave lots of time for your individual questions. So let me get the technology all set, and we will get moving. All right, and are we recording like we wanted to? Yeah. Good. Okay, so welcome to Speaking Online for Free, a surprisingly profitable strategy to attract new clients. So I have a question for you. Do you ever feel like this? Everybody I know needs what I'm selling. Like if you could just get people to see and understand what you're doing, you definitely have more clients because so many people need what you do. Yeah, it can be really frustrating because you're accomplished, you're smart, you've invested in your education as a coach. And so today I am here to clarify a strategy to help you better showcase your brilliance so you can be getting more clients, earning more money, and making a bigger impact. Now, the focus is going to be on speaking today, but not just to get the spotlight. The purpose of this strategy is to generate more business and more clients. So with the focus on client generation, I'm going to zoom out a little. I'm going to start with simplifying your understanding of client generation. So if you aren't getting all of the clients and business you want, it's generally because there's a problem in just one of three areas. Number one, you don't have a comprehensive client generation plan. Without this, you tend to be busy instead of productive. Number two, there's something getting in the way of implementation. Without consistency of implementation, you're likely to get distracted by bright, shiny objects. And number three, you may have a problem in the lead generation area. You need to either build skills or just add on a new strategy. If you don't get really clear about your lead generation strategies, you're ending up dabbling in too many things and you end up spinning your wheels. And that's pretty much it. It's plan, implement, lead gen. Now you're going to get a lot of insights and tools and create action steps around speaking. But the bigger picture is the most important thing is to get crystal clear about which of these three things is your priority, which will get you results fastest. So we're going to do an evaluation towards the end that's going to help you better zero in on where you can get the highest return on investment. So how are we going to get from here to that clarity? Well, what we're going to cover today is number one, we're going to answer the question, should I speak for free once and for all? Number two, you're going to get the keys to making audiences hungry to work with you even before you set foot on stage. We're going to look at what to do before, during, and after. And number three, we're going to factor in the 6 essential elements of an effective client generation plan so you can maximize your results. And our time is going to go by very quickly. And because there's a lot to learn, and I believe in having fun with business, I'm going to actually do a drawing at the end. So I'm going to be giving away a copy of my book, Smile When They Call You Sleazy. Yes, that's the actual name of it. Strategy and Encouragement for the Impact-Driven Entrepreneur. The title was inspired by my personal experiences of getting, kind of pulled down, shot down when I put myself out there. All right, so to get into the drawing and to stay in the loop with upcoming resources, very quickly, open up your email, maybe on your phone. Just shoot me a quick email to mary@simplygetclients.com and use the subject line webinar. That'll get you in the drawing. And at the end, before I do the drawing, I'll actually give you one last chance to get into the giveaway. Throughout the presentation, I am going to do stories, case studies to help deepen the learning. And after I think the first 2 teaching points, that's when I'm going to break for questions. And then we'll have some time, hopefully, at the end as well. All right, so now that we have all the housekeeping out of the way, I want to hear from you. So open up your chat window, put your fingers on the keyboard, and I'm going to ask for the first thing that comes to mind when I ask you this question. Why is this topic important to you? You have many options. You have many options for your, for how to use your time, but you showed up here today. So why is this topic important to you? So FYI, I turned off my video while I'm presenting because I tend to make a lot of hand gestures and it's very distracting. So that's on purpose. Okay, so people are saying, so I can build my business and my speaking ability, stabilize our incoming workflow. Yes. Melissa's new to coaching and growing my business. Annie says, I'm interested in learning about speaking for more people. Oh, okay, hold on. Important because my business will allow me to achieve my vision. It feels more personal with potential clients. It is. It's an amazing way to grow a business. Business development is a cornerstone of every business. Absolutely. I like speaking and I like clients. Yes, me too, Linda. Amber says to learn the most important aspects of an online presentation, to build my business more effectively than I have been, expand my exposure, learn how to speak to get exposure. And Jamie says, I like speaking and I'm interested how to use this to grow my business. Fantastic. Okay, good news. Two good news. One, you are in the right place. We're going to do a lot of that stuff. And second good news is what I'm teaching is not theoretical. Everything that I am teaching, I have tried, tested, run into brick walls, fallen down, gotten back up, learned, and then taught to my own clients who have then gone on to be successful. So let me build how this all got brought together for you. So today I have a training and coaching company that I own. I run it from the privacy of my own home, always have. And in the next couple of years, we're tracking for the 500,000 mark. We really have the goal of being tiny but mighty to make as big of an impact as possible without having to run a big company. And it allows me to travel and spend time with the people who are most important to me. But when I started this business, I was just super excited. I was running in a million different directions and I just wanted to be speaking all the time. And I didn't really have a plan or a strategy. I was just super excited when someone asked me to speak. And eventually I just burned out with it. I did everything wrong, from the wrong content, to the wrong groups, to the wrong topics, to to spending a fortune on a sales coach who made me overly salesy. She didn't make me, I became overly salesy. Just so embarrassing what I have done to get to where I am now. But so I hit this wall and I was like, okay, I'm spending way too much time on this. This either has to start bringing in business or I have to give it up. And so a question occurred to me when I hit that low point, and that was this question that is the guide for my business. I highly recommend you write this down. It's so simple. But the question is, what's working? This is the question that occurred to me. What's working? And it was kind of like the clouds parted and the angels sang. And as I realized that I'd been trying to generate clients, but completely ignoring the foundational strategy I created for client generation. So yeah, there was also clouds parting, angels singing, and a forehead smack, feeling a little stupid. I'd completely ignored this foundation that helped me double my business several times over and helps my clients consistently increase their income 50 to 100%. So I rebuilt my approach. I simplified and boiled everything down to structure and strategies that consistently bring clients into my business and into the other clients who implement the strategies. Now, from all of these experiences, there are three things I learned for a fact. Number one, anyone can generate clients from speaking. I did it wrong for years, but eventually developed a process that's generated over 6 figures a year of income for the last 6 years. Number two is you've got to be strategic, plus put your authentic self out there. Winging it doesn't work. Trying to be someone else, do what they do, bring their personality. No, that doesn't work either. You need a structure, strategy, and be willing to be authentic. And number three is this is a huge opportunity. It's a hot opportunity for client generation because while tons of marketers online are screaming about high-tech marketing funnels, opt-ins, lead magnets, which is just so much work. While all of that is being touted, there are literally hundreds of audiences, thousands of people all looking for great speakers like you. And this is more true than ever because of the change in how we do business. Right now, we are virtual. So any place that was off limits to you before because you didn't want to travel, didn't want to incur the expense or spend the time, those are open to you. So your opportunities just multiplied by like a jillion. And then, and also all the groups that might want speakers, they're doubling up on their resources to serve their members at a higher level. So huge, huge opportunity right now. All right, let's jump into the content. So let's answer the question, should I speak for free once and for all? Now, there are lots of different kinds of speaking, and the strategies to be successful for each are completely different. They're completely different. And so sometimes people say, oh, well, I want to do speaking. And then they go chase after a strategy without understanding that they may be going after the wrong strategy for the kind of speaking they want to do. So what I did was I broke down each kind of opportunity and what is required to be successful at each and how I arrived at my own strategy. All right, so let's start with hosting your own events. Now, this is something I hear a lot of. It's like, I want to just host my own events. Now, when you do this live, it's very different. But when you're online, even when you're online, there are challenges. So the compensation for hosting your own events is event fees, if you charge them, and sales, if you attract clients. So that is how you are compensated. The way you maximize the income you make is that you have to gather an audience. We call that cheeks and seats. You've got to get people in front of you. Now, the pros of doing your own event is it is a very qualified audience. People showed up to see you. So your conversions to additional business, additional clients can be pretty good. Now, the cons are that it can be a huge output of time, money, and marketing. Now, I just did a launch recently because this is one way that I do my business, but I don't recommend it until you've got a team. And I spent weeks writing email copy, working with my tech assistant, making sure that all the automations are connected. If you're doing live events, then it's parking, and now it's social safety and all of that. So you become an event manager. So those are the cons. So let's look at the next. Paid speaking. Okay, so this sounds like a great deal. Oh my gosh, I just hit my blinds. See, wild hand gestures, I told you. So paid speaking. Compensation is a speaker fee. You're paid up front. And the way you maximize this, your income, is you have to find your events and negotiate your fee. Now, the pros are someone else gathers an audience. Yay, hearts and flowers. We love this. The cons are that there are fewer opportunities and more competition. Now, this is an interesting point because I was a member of the National Speakers Association, and recently in their most recent magazine, they talk about how the opportunities for expert speakers like you and me, they have actually diminished with COVID. Paid speaking opportunities. There's this very stratified thing that is happening where the paid keynotes for like Serena Williams and Brene Brown and so forth, they will get top fees. They will get the $25,000, $50,000, and people are looking for those celebrities to draw in an audience. There's that, but it's a very small tier. And then there's the bottom tier where you're just like interchangeable. They'll pay $500. It doesn't really matter. Low paid speaking. And that middle tier where most of us gather has become even more competitive with the pandemic. Very interesting. All right, so let's go into the third one, and then I'll have one more. So pay to speak. Yes, this is an actual thing. You may have heard of this. It's like renting the stage. So your compensation, you pay to get on stage, to get in front of an audience, and the compensation is to make an offer and sales. So upsells, generating clients. Now, the way you maximize this is you have to be able to sell better than the other speakers, because guess what? When you pay to speak, you are very rarely the only person speaking. So you not only have to be able to sell well, but you have to sell better than the other speakers. Now, the pros are that someone else gathers an audience. Big hearts and flowers again. But the cons are often that you have to engage in a hard sell, or you're competing against people who are doing a hard sell. Also, there's often a lot of speakers in the audience. It's those situations where it's like, run to the back of the room right now and you're gonna, don't miss out. And ugh. All right, so don't love that, clearly. And then we get to the no fee or unpaid speaking. Pro bono speaking is what some people call it. Now, compensation is you get to make an offer, there's ongoing sales. How to maximize it is you spend time finding qualified groups and providing strategic content. The pros are someone else gathers the audience, hearts and flowers, and there are jillions of opportunities, as I mentioned before, and it's actually 10 times a jillion now because of COVID. Now, the cons are you're not paid up front, so there is some risk involved. But as I looked through these opportunities and I looked at the first one and this huge output of time, money, marketing, I was like, yikes, that's kind of a red flag. Paid speaking, fewer opportunities, more compensation. This hard sell pay to speak thing, no, just no, hard pass. But then for this, the no fee. What happens when you do no fee speaking that is so exciting? Well, it's exciting to me because my top value is impact. I actually get to, not just when I'm working with clients, make an impact, but with my marketing strategy, I get to make an impact. And when I'm strategic, which I am, I get new clients and I get to serve clients and I make an income. So this is where we're going to focus today. So here's the thing is if you've showed up and you're like, you know what, I really want to do the keynotes. That's great. That's the paid speaking piece. It's different. The strategy I'm teaching is not really going to be about that. So I don't want you to come here and get a strategy that's not going to lead you in the right direction for your goals. Now, if you are still a little resistant about speaking for free, I understand. You are not alone. And I want to give you an example of one of my clients. This is John. He was the former CFO of Microsoft North America. And when I mentioned speaking for free as a strategy for him, he was resistant, to say the least. I mean, of course he was. He charges 5 figures just to show up somewhere. But he was open because he was at the point in his business where he'd gotten some clients, but he recognized that his corporate successes didn't translate into knowing how to run his new executive coaching business. In particular, he wasn't clear about how to consistently attract new clients, but because he was open to thinking about it differently and willing to take on a new skill set, he more than doubled the year we worked together. So I encourage you to stay open and curious throughout this process. So let me give you the keys to making audiences hungry to work with you even before you set foot on stage. To give you an idea of where we are, I showed you this bigger picture earlier today, and a speaking strategy is one of the proactive marketing or lead generating activities. So that's where we are on this overall map. So let's talk about what to do before you get on stage or before you even book a talk even. So the very first thing to do, don't skip this step by the way, is identify where your ideal client gathers. So many people are able to book gigs, they're able to get on stages, but then find themselves in a position where they're super excited because they got booked, but their ideal clients aren't there. So you've got to identify where your ideal clients gather. I think I talk about this a little bit. Yeah, you want to think about with your ideal clients, what associations do they attend? What industries do they tend to group in? What groups already are serving your ideal clients? Now, to be clear, this doesn't necessarily mean you're going to find a room with wall-to-wall ideal clients. It's more about where do they gather in high concentration. So like I serve mostly coaches, consultants, and trainers, and I occasionally speak for chambers of commerce because there are service-based professionals. So it's not wall-to-wall ideal client, but I've identified where my ideal client gathers. Okay, so that's the first thing. You've got to identify where your ideal client gathers. Otherwise, you're going to get the yay of I got booked, but there's not going to be business to be had there. The second thing is develop a kick-ass title. Okay, it must speak to what your ideal client knows and wants. Now listen to this. This may be the most important thing I say to you all day. Stay for the rest anyway, even though this is the most important thing, you want to stay to the end. Okay, so the most important thing is that your title speaks to what your ideal client knows they want. All right, so I have an example of this. So you might know, because you've gotten certifications and you've been doing this for a while and you're brilliant, you might know that if a manager is having trouble with their team, what they need is to improve their emotional intelligence. And so you might want to create a title that's like the 5 essentials of emotional intelligence. All right. Well, the problem is what your ideal client knows is different. What they know is that their team is acting like a bunch of 5-year-olds and nobody's playing nice with their toys. So your title has to speak to the problem that they know. So an example might be 5 steps to take to get your team productive and out of the drama. Really important to speak to what they know, not what you know. Now, another thing about titles is sometimes groups will ask you to adjust your title. Say, "Ooh, could you use this title?" Maybe they have a theme. And what you really need to know is that softening it, tweaking it, all of that, it just waters down the concentration of your ideal clients in the audience. If you really tune in your title to your ideal clients, then if you change it, you won't get as much of a concentration. I'll give you an example. Here's a problem with what I call title tweaking. So here's my most popular topic: more clients, less marketing, create more leads and income by doing less. Now, this is very effective because my clients, they want to know how to get more clients. They don't want to be marketing 24/7. They're willing to look at the concept of leads and sales, even though they may be uncomfortable, and they want to talk about money. They want it to be okay to talk about money. So every part of this is dialed in. Now, I was asked to change it to more clients, less marketing, expand your coaching practice by doing less. Not a tremendous change, but it waters it down just a little bit. And so I requested to keep the regular title, and they accommodated me. Highly recommend you keep your titles once they're dialed in. All right, so what are some don'ts? Oh no, wait a minute, I've got one more do. Make inquiries to the right groups. Once you identify where your ideal client gathers, make sure that you qualify your audiences, not just along the lines of ideal clients, but will they accept your title? Will they let you gather contact information? We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And are you allowed to make an offer? Because it has to be an equitable exchange. This is the thing about no fee speaking or pro bono speaking, is there has to be an equitable exchange. In my opinion, just getting exposure is not equitable. It's not enough of an exchange for the value that you are willing to bring, because it takes organization and putting together your PowerPoint, and maybe you do a handout. It takes your time. So it has to be an equitable exchange. So qualify the audience, make sure the right groups, you're getting in with the right groups, and make sure it's okay to make an offer. Now, some don'ts. Don't develop your whole presentation first. As I like to say, you're developing a presentation for what audience? For what audience? If you don't have bookings, then developing your whole presentation is just the definition of putting the cart before the horse. You do need your title. You might need a little write-up, but get booked first. Start reaching out to groups where your ideal clients gather, make inquiries, get booked first. And don't create new content for each group. When you create your content strategically, you'll have 1 or 2, maybe 3 talks, period. And the structure is very similar for each, so that you're just changing out components to speak to each different topic. And that way, because you know how much time it takes to develop presentations and content, you need to be able to take it from group to group to group, so that when you know your content is all dialed into your ideal client, you're able to just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, do it again and again and again. And I literally, my more clients, less marketing talk, I've been doing it for, I think, 4 years. And I've gotten booked for the same topic 2 years in a row with the same groups. So you don't need to come up with something new all the time. And let's talk about what you do during. And I'm going to break for questions in a second. So do give solid value. So there's this whole thing of, I always get asked, how do I make sure I don't give away too much? You know what? Don't worry about it. I'm going to talk about how you structure things in a minute. Give solid value. If at any point it feels like you are holding back or going, oh, I can't really share that with you, that's you are going to lose your audience. So make sure you are ready to give solid value. Now for coaches, that's never an issue. It's never an issue. Give solid value though, and have fun. Be yourself with it. And one of the things I found is when you get enough structure into your content, and oh, this is the way that I'm going to generate clients and I have confidence in it, it's so much easier to relax and be yourself. One thing that's really important with the giving solid value is in your content. Let me give you a couple tips on this. You want to make sure that you always are gearing your content to your ideal client. That's number one. So gear your content to your ideal client. Don't try to reach everybody. You want to be thinking about your ideal client, what they want. Number two, have engagement. Online, this is huge. This is huge. Now, the topic today was about online. And what I will tell you is there are, with the exception of technology, there's very few differences between what you do offline and what you do online. So if you're not hearing me talk about a lot of that and you have questions about that, about online presentations, we'll do that. We'll talk about that in the Q&A. Okay. You want to have engagement, and you can do that a lot of different ways. You want to give immediate tools. And also in your content, you want to show there is more to learn. This may be the second most important thing I tell you today. You've got to show that there's more to learn. Too often we're so worried about giving value and not giving enough value to earn the right to make the offer, that we don't give people that picture of what else is available, so that you are literally giving them no reason to hire you. You're literally not giving them the vision of the possibilities of how there's more. And what I want you to think about is, you can give a lot of value in an hour, but how much is someone's life transformed in an hour? No matter how good you are, to get real transformation, people are going to have to work with you further. So one of the most important things in your presentation, you've got to show there's more to learn. All right, don't rely on the host to provide contact information. I have nightmare story after nightmare story from myself and my clients where we were promised contact information, because this is a long game. This is not just okay, you come in, you make a pitchy sales offer, and then you run away and you offend anyone who doesn't buy. No. Long game. You need the contact information. So don't rely on the host to provide contact information. So in your presentation, have mechanisms, have some way to collect information. Super important. Don't make it difficult for people to work with you further. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is you have to let people know what to do in order to work with you further. Don't make it difficult. Don't be vague. Say, hey, if you would like to learn more, here are the steps you take. Here is who it's for, and here's how you do it, and here's what to expect. All right. Now, I personally, when I'm doing no fee speaking, I think making a paid offer I don't feel like it's the right next step. When you're thinking about that whole thing with marketing, which is, people have to know you, then get to like you, then get to trust you before they will buy from you. I feel like you move the needle significantly from being a stranger to having a good rapport, a know and a like, and right into the trust-ish area. But having a paid offer, it feels like you're co-opting meetings, and it just doesn't feel like the right step. So generally, I recommend making a offer of a strategy call. So don't make it hard for people to work with you further. One of the most fun things that you're going to get in this presentation, in my opinion, is you're going to get to watch my recommendation of how to do an offer. I'm going to walk through it, show you exactly how I do it, because I'm just going to do it the way I do it. And you're going to get to learn both the content and the context. So that's coming up later too. All right. So don't make it hard for people to work with you. Don't be salesy. don't be salesy. Okay. If you have a gut reaction to pushy, salesy stuff, you have good instincts. Don't be pushy and salesy. And you still, in order to be strategic, you have to have a structure of creating curiosity and desire woven into your presentation. All right. So let's talk a little bit about sales for a minute, because if you have any resistance in this area, you are going to have a hard time attracting new business. And probably it's just a matter of like redefining or adjusting your understanding of sales. So old school tactics don't really work anymore. People are too savvy, and we're too, I don't know, we have too integrity. I don't know, maybe that's not right. But the old school tactics that you know of pressuring and convincing and trying to prove yourself or scaring people, these are all things that are based in disempowering people, scarcity, force, disrespect. And we just don't go there. It's short-term thinking, because the people who do decide to buy under these circumstances, they are not connected to their reasons why you could serve them, but rather they associate you with fear. So they aren't actually committed buyers, and you end up alienating people who don't buy, and that kills the long-term opportunities to create clients. So again, the good news is if your instinct is to shy away from these tactics, you're already on the right track. So the question is, what do you do instead? Well, what works and feels better is providing value, inviting and including people to explore working with you further, and clarity. By going this approach, you are being empowering, you are being respectful, you are connecting. And the good news is it works better. It works better because if someone isn't in the market and you make your offer, they're gonna be like, okay, that's not for me, but they're gonna stick around. They're gonna stay on your list. So you've got the long game down. And if they need you in the future, they know they can call on you. And here's an example of like, I teach clients how to do these offers. And I got this great post recently. And just because you have the offer down doesn't mean it isn't scary. She said, I was shaking when I had to make the offer. I had it written down and I had to modulate my voice to read it from a sheet of paper. And she had 50% of the people, it was only 4, it was this tiny webinar, but there were 4 people who showed up and 2 signed up for a growth call with her. So it's really important to make that offer and make it easy for people to work with you. All right, lots of stuff. I promise we're breaking for questions after this slide. So after, what do? You want to evaluate. How many people were in the audience? What was the reaction? What were the questions you were getting? What did you maybe leave out that you want to put in next time? You want to do this as quickly as possible afterwards so you can be making adjustments quickly. And then you want to, so you want to evaluate the overall content, and then there's recording the data, which is how many people in the audience, how many clarity calls or discovery calls did you book? This year over year, I study my data, because I noticed that there are trends in the topics that are working better. There are trends in the locations that are more receptive. So record your data. Don't wait to follow up. Don't wait to follow up. Do it right away. If you have a call in a class in the morning or a speaking engagement in the morning, get that follow up out by the end of the day. If it's at noon, same thing, end of the day. If it's in the evening, next morning, mid-morning is good. Don't wait to follow up. Don't be one and done. You've got to integrate your speaking into your other lead generation strategies. If you have a newsletter, make sure to incorporate your newsletter. If you have a referral generation system, you incorporate that. If you're on social media, make sure you're integrating all of the different pieces so that you're getting more results from every one of your efforts. Okay, so now I am going to take a breath, and I am going to turn my video back on now that I'm not going to distract you with wild hand gestures. And I want to ask what are your questions? I saw some things pop up in the chat. Ooh, best sales are hidden. Someone says, I've gotten clients teaching classes through community education. Okay, so I'm going to answer this one question since it was to me privately, and then I'm going to welcome anyone to come on and ask questions. So the question is, I've gotten clients teaching classes through community education. How might I best hone or apply your tactics to that audience? So my question is, if you're getting clients from it, why would you change anything? And I ask that very sincerely, because I've got a couple of clients and they already are speaking and they're doing great and they've got their own system and it's locked and loaded, and the idea of overlaying my system on top of it is like, nope, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I wouldn't mind hearing back from you though if you think there is something off about it, or if there's any part that's like a question mark, then answer a follow-up question or come on the line, please. Stacy says, if you don't have any questions after, should you be worried? Ooh, that's a great question, because it really depends. I usually prod people. I usually prod a little bit. If I don't have questions, I'll probably do it with you guys actually. So if I don't have questions, I usually, especially when it's live, I usually do okay, so you don't have any questions. By a show of hands, how many of you are this is like deeply just you're just crunching on this right now? Who's just like thinking it through, and you're going to need some processing time, and that's what's going on. Okay, so that might be one of the things, because you want to know, it's like, how many people are just feeling like this was too much information and you're having a hard time sorting out where even to start? Or, how many of you just are looking at this and are going, you know what, you're kind of skeptical it could even work? Anybody like that? I want to draw people out. And that's my favorite question to ask. Actually, I love the skeptics. Those are my best clients. The ones that are like, you know what, I've tried everything. I do not need one more technique. And I'm like, okay, let's get to work. But I would prod people for sure. Okay, Kent's saying, oh, by the way, Stacy, if there are no questions and there's just no response, one other thing that may have happened is there wasn't enough interaction earlier. Like if they don't feel safe to ask questions. Now, one other thing that happened, actually, I just remembered this. I was at an industry event one time. It was events industry. And it was crickets. And it was the presentation I've done over and over and just, always gets a good response. And I'm like, what is happening here? And I did get a couple people, I got calls booked with prospects, shocked. And someone gave me some insight. He said, our competitors are sitting in the room. So for us to say, I'm having a problem with this or that or the other is kind of dangerous. It feels dangerous. So, evaluate. That's one of the evaluate things at the end. It's like, what was going on in the room? What was the dynamic? All right, let's see. Kent says, everything resonates. Seems pretty straightforward as far as education. Execution. This is my 5th webinar this week. So after this, I'm done. So done. All right, Amber, what are some examples of engaging online during the presentation that you find work best? Okay, yay. So I don't know how many I'm going to come up with, but I'm going to give you my best ones. So one of them is, I've already done 2 of them today. One of them is, okay, so do this. Open up your chat window right now. Now put your hands on the keyboard. I'm going to give you a question in just a minute. And I want you to just type in the first thing that comes to mind. Now, this saves so much time and works so much better than like, okay, everybody, I want to hear from you. Here's the question. Now respond. So everyone's finding their chat and they're like, what's the question? And they're writing an essay. So do, in 10 words or less. What's the first thing that comes to mind? And then it's like, responses. So that's one. Another one is have people do work. I'm going to do an evaluation. You're going to do an evaluation in a minute where I'm going to say, okay, here's something. Now 1 to 10, write it down. Okay, here's the second thing, 1 to 10, write it down. Okay, now so have people do work on their own and instruct them, pick up your pen, write the thing. Okay, so that's number 2. Love that. That's good for any presentation. Polls are fun. but I tend to stay away from them because there's the tech thing. It can just lag. It can just, whatever time you set aside for anything that uses technology, double the time in your talk. Okay. One thing that is very subtle, but very, very important is what I think of as the call outs, like the verbal call outs. And that is, all right, so here's the thing. On this next slide, I want you to pay attention to this. All right. I'm going to tell you something that is so important. I'm going to say it twice. So you get to the slide and you go, okay, so my compass point, this is what I want you to write down. It's what's working. That changed my whole business. I hope you are hearing me. Focus on what's working. So you're telling people this is important. Hey, listen to this. Did you catch that? Did you catch what I just said? Because then when you say that, people are like, wait, what? She just said that. She said something important and she's repeating it. Oh, shoot, I better get this. It is all about getting people's attention and shifting it and keeping it. Anybody else have an example of good engagement? Because I know I'm not the only speaker on here. Maybe it's something you saw someone else do that was really good. Because I'm going to take notes. Use breakout rooms. Yes, thank you. I love breakout rooms. When you have enough time for that, getting people to solve themselves and network and connect, very energizing for sure. Annie is saying, I've asked people to come on video too. Yes, oh my gosh. I do presentations for an organization called SCORE. And I swear, I do not know what it is with those people, but like I'll have a room of 20 people and 2 will be on video with me. And it's just so disconcerting because like, I don't know what's happening. Let's see what else. We do resume workshops and they share their examples. Yes. Yeah. If there is something, a specific topic like that. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions? Anyone want to come on with a clarification question? All right. All right, then I am going to keep going, continue with the content. Oh wait, Stephanie just typed in any tricks to the cliffhanger. I can't wait to the follow-up email. Okay, so this is another trick for engagement, by the way, is like enjoy what you're doing and don't keep it a secret. So there you go. So any tricks to the follow-up email? Couple things. Number one is set aside the time beforehand. So if you book a gig, book that hour afterwards to do the follow-up. Just, it's something that's like, oh damn, I'm like trying to edit my language. Oh darn, I have appointments the rest of the day and I can't get to it. So book a gig, book follow-up. Second is have a standard follow-up. My standard follow-up usually looks like, here's the resource I promised. And if you missed booking a call and now you're kind of kicking yourself going, shoot, I should have done that. Where's that piece of paper where I wrote it down? Here's your second chance. So very simple. I personally like it. I am a skimmer. And so I like, here are the 2 things I promised. Number 1, number 2, very simple, because now it's into the long game. Yeah, and then keep them consistently in your group, on your list. All right, thanks everybody for really good engagement. That was fun. I especially liked the cliffhanger. That was awesome, Stephanie. Thank you. All right, let's keep going. All right, so now we're going to factor in the 6 essential elements of elephants. Oh my gosh, 5 webinars. Factor in the 6 essential elements of an effective client generation plan so you can maximize your results. So now what we're going to do is we're going to step back for a second and look at what overall systems or processes do you have in place right now that consistently generates new clients. Because if you want to grow and scale your business, you got to have a system. Speaking can be one piece of the puzzle, and I am a big fan of it, of course. But I want to equip you with the bigger picture understanding of how all this works together. Because when it comes to client generation, a lot of clients, or a lot of coaches I see really learn a little here, a little there, and you end up with this time-consuming mess instead of all of your actions pulling in the same direction, getting you the best return on investment. All right, so now you know my secrets, and maybe this won't work as well, but I'm gonna have you open up your chat window now. Open up your chat, put your fingers on the keyboard, and answer just a quick yes or no. You ready? Here's the question. Do you have a written client generation plan? Yes or no? Nope, 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 nope. Yes, you can. High five, virtual high five. Amber, nope, 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 nope. All right, you are in good company, as you can see. And one thing to keep in mind is the benefits of doing your written plan is that you're not going to have that nagging feeling of, am I doing enough? You will have decided, you know all the parts and pieces. And I find when I'm not working my plan, my mind is going a million directions thinking, oh my gosh, am I doing enough? All right. So what I'm going to do is to give you better structure and results, like the start of a plan around what you're doing. I'm going to go over 6 essential elements, and you're going to assess how your business is doing in each area, what's going great and what needs attention, because each of these areas impact the results you're going to get out of speaking as a client generation strategy. All right. So now you're going to do that assessment I was mentioning earlier. These are the 6 essential elements of an effective client generation system. I'm going to explain each of them briefly. Then you're going to evaluate your business in each of these areas. It'll help you uncover clues as to where you need to focus in order to improve your results. So the first element is a values-driven profit strategy. Values-driven profit strategy. Now, this includes 3 things. 3 things. Number 1 is your values. Number 2 is your vision. And number 3 is clarity around your pricing and packaging. This is so that you're building a business that is in alignment with your values, that is enjoyable for you, that is going someplace that you want to go, that's your vision, and that will financially carry you there. Now, a lot of coaches very comfortable with doing the values exercises, very excited about creating the vision, and the money piece gets a little funky sometimes, and you really need all 3. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about your pricing, values, and vision for your business? Scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is low and 10 is high. All right, number 2 is your proactive marketing plan. This is the list of activities you do on a consistent basis that generates new leads. Are you doing speaking? Are you doing referral generation? Are you doing social media marketing? What is it that you are doing that you can condense down to a checklist and a formula that you know will bring you consistent results? So do you have a proactive marketing plan? On a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about the actions you need to take in order to generate new leads? Number 3 is ideal client clarity. There's 2 things with ideal clients that you really want to know when it comes to client generation. And that is, number 1, what are they thinking about their problem? You know how we were talking about titles earlier, about like what you know and what they know? I used the emotional intelligence example. Well, this thing you want to know about your ideal client is, what are they thinking about their problem? What are they thinking about the solutions that they want? So that's number 1. And number 2 is, where do they gather in high concentration? Where do they gather? So whether you're speaking or networking or doing referrals, you've got to know where they gather so you're showing up there and not wasting your time elsewhere. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you about your ideal client in these 2 areas? Number 4 is magnetic messaging. Messaging is words. It's the words that are They're the words that are on your website. They are the words that are in your talk titles. They are the words that are in your introduction when someone asks you, what do you do? Now, messaging becomes magnetic when you can communicate the value of what you do quickly, because that leads to people hiring you faster. When they understand what you do, when they understand your value. So to rate yourself on this one, you can just think about when someone asks you, what do you do? Do you communicate your value quickly? Does your ideal client say, hey, I need that. I've been looking for that. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Number 5, sales and closing. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confidently can you convert a prospect into a paying client? Do you confidently talk about getting paid what you're worth? If you work with corporate clients, do you have proposals and strategies to move your proposals through the layers of decision makers? So rate your ability to close the sale once someone says they are interested. Number 6 is time management mastery. Do you get your priorities done and have a clear approach to managing your time? Rate your ability to stay in control and focused on your priorities. All right, so what do you do with this lovely evaluation? Well, first of all, anytime sometimes something changes in your business, I would pull this baby out, because what happens when the world changes, for instance, I took this out on March 13th this year. And I said, okay, the world's changing. Do any of these things need to be adjusted? And I found some opportunities in my own proactive marketing plan. So instead of, running around with my hair on fire and worrying, I just said, what needs to be adjusted? Now, I did do plenty of worrying and crying too. But once I got past that, this is exactly where I went. So keep this for when you make changes in your business. Now, for purposes today, what do you do with this? You don't add up your numbers. This is not a Cosmo quiz. But what you do instead is, you may remember this slide that we did at the beginning. This is where we bring it all together. If most of your numbers were a 7 or under, your most immediate need is an overall plan for client generation. It's time to step back and get clear so that the actions you're taking, the words you're saying, the places you're going are actually going to have a positive return on investment. Now, if you have a lot of those 6 elements that are over 8, but you're still not getting the results you want, you're going to want to look at, are you implementing consistently? Like, you've got your plan beautiful and perfect, and it's framed on the wall, and it's just not getting implemented. There are things getting in the way of implementation. That may be where you need to look, maybe some accountability around that. Or maybe you need to tighten up your lead generation because you're doing a lot of work, but not getting a lot of return on investment. And you may need more than one of these things. So get clarity around where you have the greatest need and focus there. And even if you do need all 3 things, that's okay. I mean, when you pull all these pieces together, really amazing things can happen. I'll give you another story. So this is Georgia, and her story is so common, it makes me want to scream. She is brilliant. She's written a book. She is a coach in Australia, and she invested in program after program about how to build your business using social media and online funnels and all this stuff. And by the way, she hated all that stuff. She didn't want to do that. She didn't feel authentic there. And she was just frustrated. She couldn't get any momentum, even though she was working at it consistently. And she just never knew where her next client was coming from. The worst thing that just kills me is she was losing the belief that it was even possible for her to succeed with her coaching business. So we discovered that she actually needed all 3 areas. She needed the plan, she needed implementation support, she needed lead generation. And we tackled all of them through my accelerator program. It's my favorite because it's so comprehensive and my clients get results. She built the plan. She built her speaking strategy for lead generation, and she didn't get left alone while she was trying to implement. So what happened for her was, this is something she posted the other day. She's like, "You'd be so proud of me. Check out this picture, 13 discovery calls booked from her speaking. Another talk is scheduled Friday. If I keep signing people up like this, I don't know how I'm going to fit them all in. A problem I'm so happy to have." Now, this was about 4 months ago, and we are literally now working on scaling strategies because her calendar has filled with prospects. This is what we want. This is what I want you to have the option to have this much business if you want it. All right, so that's all well and good for Georgia, but what about you? What do you need to do in order to pull together your plan, improve your implementation, or master a lead generation strategy so you can create more income and lasting impact? That's where we're going next. So the first thing you're going to want to do is create some clear next steps with a bite-sized action. So that's your step right now. I want you to look over the notes you've taken. Was there anything that kind of jumped out at you like, you know what? This is like glowing on the page that this is the perfect next step. I know I got a lot of information, but this one thing, if I could start here, that would really move me forward. So write down or circle, highlight, put stars and flowers around if you like, your bite-sized action. Now, bite-sized is great, very manageable, but I imagine you want more. You might have written down 2 or 3 or 10 things that you want to accomplish, and that's fine too, because we're going to equip you with that. We've been doing a lot of left brain logical things here, and we want to, now I'm going to get your right brain creative centers on board. So now I'm going to ask you to put down your pen, take your hands off the keyboard, and take a deep breath. Maybe close your eyes. And I'd like you to imagine having a steady stream of great clients coming in. These are clients who pay you what you're worth. You're making a difference. You're known for your expertise and your brilliance. And to generate those clients, you've got a plan full of things that you love to implement, actions that are simple and clear, where you feel authentic and never pushy. You know what to do, where to go, and what to say to take prospects from a handshake to signing on the bottom line as a client. And you're doing all of this with confidence and with consistency and with ease. Now take another deep breath and open your eyes. Is that a vision you could get behind? Yes? I hope so. So now you're feeling inspired and you can see the possibilities. And the next challenge is you're a busy person. That's the challenge with making changes. You're fired up now, but how do you keep this level of focus and inspiration week after week so you really start seeing results? And that brings us to our second step. At this point, you're going to want to identify something really important. When thinking about what you want and need in your business, who do you have in your corner who's accomplished what you want to accomplish and is available to help you when you need it most? Because some of you may have the support you need, but for those of you who don't, I invite you to consider working with me. Now, this isn't for everyone, and that's okay, but if you're looking to significantly grow your coaching practice without working nights and weekends, then it's time to get clarity about what it's actually going to take to make that happen. So what I'm offering you today is a complimentary breakthrough call to get that clarity and to explore the possibility of working together further. This call is a great option for you if you've been feeling a little stuck in your business and you're not sure why and you could use a reboot, or maybe you've been looking for some kind of support but can't quite picture what that would look like. The calls are complimentary, but they're limited in number, and they're intended for people who are committed to getting to that next level of your business. You're willing to invest in yourself. You're decisive, you're driven, and you know that success takes effort. It takes work. You just want to make sure that your hard work is actually going to pay off. Now, if that sounds like you, then on this call, you'll get one-on-one time with Jane, who's my top strategist. She'll help you get clear on your biggest challenges and what you need to do to solve them so you can get the results you want. She's really a master at helping you get clarity to see if my accelerator or other program would be a good fit for you right now. And she will be straight up honest with you, just like I will, if it's not a good fit or it's not the best thing for you, because it's not for everyone. So very easy to get on the calendar. Simply go to breakthroughcall.biz. It's a scheduling page. So you just pick your date, pick your time, boom, you're done. One less thing to think about, and it puts you first in line. Now, if you're thinking right now, sounds interesting. I'm just going to jot that down. I'll get around to it later. I am going to give you an incentive. So you can schedule now. So all this clarity and good intention doesn't get lost in the shuffle. When you schedule today, you'll get my entire ebook version of Smile When They Call You Sleazy. I figure if you'd like to have this call anyway, you might as well get the free stuff. All right. So that brings us to, you might recall what we did at the beginning. I said there's a prize drawing at the end. That's right. I'm giving away a copy of my book, Smile When They Call You Sleazy. It's a hard copy too. It's going to come in the mail. I don't know about any of you, but getting the mail has actually become kind of like a treat every day. So this makes it even more fun. If you did not enter at the beginning and you would like to now, you've got one last chance to enter. Just send me an email to mary@simplygetclients.com. And subject line is webinar, and I will enter you into the drawing. Oh, and if that asterisk, I'm going to put my video back on so I can see everybody. And if that asterisk is making you a little worried, that is because everybody is a winner. Everyone will receive the first chapter and access to free resources if you enter. And I'm going to show you my super high-tech way of doing my drawing. I just can't be bothered with technology. All right. So everybody's in who wants to be in. Okay, here's how I do the drawing. See, here's my way. Dun, dun, dun. And I'm going to pick the winner, and the winner is Kent. Kent is our winner. Woohoo, Kent! High five. Ken, if you'd send me another email with your mailing address, please. If we skip that step, can't do anything for you. All right. One last quick story, and then I will open up for questions for the little time that we have left. Yes. All right. So I want to take you back to the moment that everything changed for me with regards to speaking. Not the strategy I laid out. That took a little longer. But the moment that I truly came to believe that I could be a speaker, it was about 12 years ago. And I was on a teleclass, so it does tell you how long ago it was, a teleclass with Les Brown, who's an amazing, amazing motivational speaker. And as he was talking about what it was going to take to get on stages, the thought that kept going through my mind was, you know, what the world does not need one more person talking about what I talk about. I mean, it's all been said. It's all been done. Who do you think you are? And like he was reading my mind, he said something that made everything change on a dime. And it made me willing to get out there, even if it had all been said and all had been done. And here's what he said. He said, there are people in the world who can only hear your voice. And we know this to be true. We'll hear 10 speakers and only one of them really speaks to us. And you have to be willing to raise your voice and be that person for others. He profoundly changed my life with one sentence. Think of what you could do when you raise yours. All right. I would love to answer any other questions you have.